Okay, in this one, we're going to colorize a grayscale image, which is a little bit more difficult than taking a color image and making it black and white, because that's just throwing information away. Unfortunately, Photoshop can't go back in time and look at this guy and decide what color he was and what color his jacket was and magically do that for us. I'm sure it's coming because Photoshop is pretty amazing, but as of yet, it can't do that. So we're going to have to colorize this ourselves. And the best way that I've found to do that is to do the coloring on separate layers. But first we have a problem because this image is truly a grayscale image. So you can see that right here at the top of the image it says gray. And in my color picker you can see I've only got shades of gray. And if I try and I go, hey, you know what, I really want like a nice green color because that's what I want, and I say okay, unfortunately I'm still only going to get a shade of gray that is the same values as the green that I picked. And that's because this image does not have color channels. It only has one grayscale channel. And I can, if I look over here behind my layers palette, you'll see there is a channel palette, and you can see sure enough there really is only one gray channel there. So I can't add color to this image at the moment. So the first thing that I need to do is to change the mode of this image from gray to a different color mode. So to do that, I'm going to go to Image, I'm going to go to Mode, and then I'm going to choose RGB because that's what we generally work in Photoshop. I'm going to change it to RGB color mode. So when I do that, you'll see that I do actually get more channels now. I actually get my red channel, my green channel, and my blue channel. Now, it doesn't magically color the image, but we can at least add color now. So you'll see that in my color picker, my colors actually show up now. And so we can actually start adding some color into this image. So the next thing I'm going to do is, again, because I don't really want to color directly on him. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to come over to my layer palette, and I'm just going to create a new blank layer. So I'm not duplicating anything for this, I'm just clicking on the new layer icon to create a new layer. Then I'm going to go to my color picker, and I'm going to find whatever color I want. And you know, right now I'm looking for a flesh tone, and I know that to make a good flesh tone, because we talked about this when we corrected flesh tones earlier, that if I have a magenta and yellow that are about the same, I'm going to go with 50 and 50 and drop my cyan to about 10, that should give me a good flesh tone, right? So we want our magenta and yellow about the same, cyan about 1/3 to 1/5, whatever that number is, and that should give me a flesh tone. So I'm going to say okay there. And so you'll see in my color picker, I now get that color. The brush is a bit too big, so I'm going to hold my Control and Option keys, and I'm going to scroll that down a bit. And I'm going to paint some flesh color. Oh no, what's happening? So not really doing what I thought it was going to do, right? Well, that's because I forgot one step. I'm going to go and change the mode of my layer here from normal, and you'll remember we talked about layer modes before, but I'm going to go all the way down to the one called color towards the very bottom of the list. And now you'll see that what it does now is it takes the tones of gray and it converts them to the tones of the color that I'm painting with. So as I continue to paint on that layer now, it'll convert his gray skin to flesh tone skin. And of course this now depends on how good of a painter I am and all that good stuff. But that's generally the method that I like to use. And of course I'll need to go back in there with some pink and stuff and pink up his cheeks and lips and all that. But again, I like to do each different color on a different layer just because it gives me more ability to undo. So I'll just call this one skin, so I know that that's my skin layer. And then I'm going to create another new one. Call this one clothing. And I don't know, what color do we want his jacket to be? And then, of course, I need to change the mode of that layer again, right? Otherwise, it's just going to paint over top of the jacket. And I'm going to change that to color again. And so now it'll change that jacket to blue for me. And then the nice thing is that because I'm doing each color on a separate layer, I can always do things like, excuse me, I can lower the opacity, like if it's too bright and I just want to lower it down a bit so that it's not quite so blue, you can just lower the opacity on that particular layer and it adjusts that particular color. And of course I'd go through and create a layer for hair and eyes and any other pieces in the image that I wanted to colorize. Okay, so that's sort of the best way that I've found to do colorizing of a black and white image.